Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the
Bremen Club
for life.
Battle number 2. Let's start with a quick reminder. You should watch my team builder and check out everyone linked in the description, because yeah. As you probably know by now, we are facing the Newcrustle United, managed by the AmazingChi. Spooky team with some big threats. However, the biggest threat of them all isn't even here. Not seeing victory was quite nice. As there wasn't a dedicated league for me this week, I figured Slowbro would be a decent league, as it has a good matchup against everything but the Brasties. Of course that means that the only league possible on Chi's side was the Brasties. But hey, fuck it. No fear. I stay in, as Chi brings in his aroma thingy, which just absolutely eats up as Sishik. This immediately told me he was physically defensive, which is always a good thing to know. I knew I could easily take a hit from this thing, so I take one turn to go for Scald and see what this thing wants to do. I sadly don't get the burn, and Chi just goes for the safe wish. At this point I saw an opportunity to bring in Miluwakee and do some great work with the charge beam stuff. Considering the lack of Victini and Hitmonlee, I knew it'd be able to do quite a lot of work. Chi goes for the Thunderbolt on my switch, and gets the 10% parry. That's one massive threat basically made useless. This immediately had me starting the match with a negative mindset, which was probably not that great. Chi brings in the Brasties, which takes a decent chunk from our Hipper voice. The Dirt Omega evolves, and at this point I had basically given up hope for Miluwakee. You know, as you tend to do with things that get paralyzed early on. We obviously take a Dark Pulse and at least get to reveal the charge beam, which is cool. Now we are left with 60 HP. This means his only way to take out this Miluwakee is another Dark Pulse. A Scald would result in a dead Brasties. So I felt rather safe going into Terrakion here, getting the lovely justified boost. There's no switch-ins to this thing, so we just get to take out the Brasties. Of course Terrakion is amazing and hits the stone edge. She then brings back the Aromatis. I then proceed to do my Calc Run and thought my Poison Jab would kill. But that's sadly not the case, and after some Rocky Helmet and Life Orb damage, we go down to a Moonblast. But this is a great chance to set up with Zard. Surely, this thing will carry Thunder Wave to not be complete set of fodder, and he'd have no choice but to go for it, right? Nah. Our sub is completely useless, and at this point I didn't have many options aside from clicking Dragon Dance and hoping for the best. We take a Moonblast, because Aromatis is weak and would normally be set of fodder and get up to +1. At this point there isn't a lot I can do, so I just go for Flare Blitz on the incoming Noivern, which takes a ton of damage. Zard dies to recoil, which is obviously the most heroic way to die. Now there really isn't a reason to not go into Nidoking and just finishing this thing off with a Shadow Ball. Chi makes the good play and just fodders his Aromatis. But then he does something Kinda and brings in Bronzong. I knew I was basically guaranteed a 2-hit KO on this, and he couldn't do more than half to me, so this really confused me during the battle. He just gets up his rocks and then brings in the Electris, which takes an amount of damage. Now, this amount of damage made me very unhappy. I found it quite difficult to tell if this was a 30-37% roll on an AV set, or a 40-47% roll on a non-AV set. For some reason, I was scared of this thing, so I Escavalier, as the eel goes for U-turn. She sends out the Bell Guy again, which does an okay amount of damage with Earthquake, but then just Kinda dies to knock off. The eel comes back in, and I kinda knew what was coming here, but I felt like I couldn't really risk bringing Slowbro in on an Electris, even on a predicted fire move. And even with the Oakberry, we can't live this hit. Now, at this point I had a bit of a problem. I didn't know if the Electris was AV, so I wasn't sure if Nidoking could 2-hit KO it with Sludge Wave. So my only option here was to go into Slowbro to weaken it a bit to guarantee the kill. I figured he wouldn't want to risk his Scald Burn here and go into Noivern. But he just goes for Thunder Punch, and our Ice Beam does not a lot. There's no real choice here. Slowbro is the only thing that has a chance of dealing with Marrow. I have to switch out to get back some Regenerator. Time to fodder Miluwakee. She goes for the U-turn and Miluwakee dies. And now we are facing a Noivern. The only chance I saw here was going into Nidoking, trying to bait the Draco and then switch around to get Slowbro back to more health. It was the only way to keep both my remaining mons alive. So I do exactly that, bringing in Slowbro, which takes the Draco. And then I go straight back into Nidoking, expecting either a U-turn or another Draco. She is at -2, so Nidoking absolutely takes that hit. At this point, I probably should have predicted she switching out, but I did not. He brings in the Mano and I bring in the Slowbro. We obviously don't take an Earthquake from that range, and there is nothing Nidoking can do at this point. And thus, we lose 3-0. Right after the match, I was incredibly pissed about that para on Miluwakee, because it was only after the match that I realized just how much it could have done without Victini around. But oh well, such is the nature of Pokemon. And we have learned from this. Next week, we will embrace the nature of Pokemon. We'll be facing Kyle and the Harlem Gloomtrotters. See you all there.